This is part one of a two-part podcast.
Hey, this is T. Blankenship. Have you seen the new video of Wheaton Labs? It is permaculture awesomeness with all new and improved things like more rocket mass heaters, easy bake coffin, Willy Wonka, rocket cooktop 2.0, and the truly passive greenhouse. To see more, go to permies.com/tour. Again, that is permies.com/tour.
How do we find out when it's actually on?
We're live.
Oh.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, good. Can people type in the comments so we can see that you can actually, I don't know, I always look for verification that it's working. I don't know how many times I've started to record something and it's like, it wasn't recording anything. So, well, all right. Hopefully people will start typing in the comments here soon. Anyway, we're going to talk about the PTJ this year. So a couple of different things. One is that this is our sixth PTJ, and the one from 2 years ago, we made the low-tech laboratory movie from what happened there. And I think that the movie turned out pretty good. It was pretty cool. And then last year we did it, and we made we said we'll make the low-tech laboratory movie 2 from that. And so we had a lot of fun projects and got a lot of video. Andreas told me yesterday that movie will be all done tomorrow. I'm not holding him to it, but it could be 3 or 4 days out now instead of, because it's been a while. But part of it was that some of the stuff that we did this year, we were kind of wrapping up some of the video from last year. And so Andreas wanted to get, and it finally got to the point where it was like that constant thing. In fact, even for this event where there's a bunch of us all here talking about this, it's like every time we tried to pick a date to record this, somebody couldn't make it. And so today Mike's not going to be here, but it's like we finally, just decided we got to do something. And so here we are. But
miss you, Mike.
There was similar stuff for some of the we need to record something where we talk about for the movie. And then somebody said, oh, well, we'll just record that at this year's PTJ because it had been postponed so many times to record the last little bit. And so it's like, just screw it. We're just going to, why should we record people talking about a thing from last year when they can sit in front of it and we can video them actually talking about it? So there's a bit of that. I think that there were some new projects this year, and I like the idea that over the next few months, we might finish some of those projects up, and who knows, maybe someday they'll go into a movie or something like that. But, finally, we're doing this. We're doing a recap. In fact, I wanted to do a recap during the Skip event, but stuff just kept happening. And plus people at the Skip event wanted to talk about Skip event stuff and not about the PTJ so much. So, I've got a list here of what looks like maybe 18 different things, different projects to talk about today. So at the top is the roundwood pavilion. Then there was a ladder rack for Roy. Ooh, so Andreas is showing us the imagery of some of the stuff from the roundwood pavilion. So we've got that big, anyway, we're going to talk in detail about each of these here in just a moment. But we did the ladder rack for Roy. We did, mycelium insulation blocks. The Sepp Holzer root cellar, humus well. I'm not sure this isn't exactly a PTJ thing, but it came up during the event, we needed to repair a washing machine. And so fortunately we had a couple of experts on that who helped us to repair it. And so got that repaired. And there are also some electrical systems that just turn themselves off. And so fortunately we got those restored. But that's not exactly a PTJ thing. But in fact, I'd like to get some feedback from people. It's being suggested that we should make a video, like a movie and a Kickstarter for some general repairs. I don't know if anybody, agrees with that or believes that would be of value. I'm kind of thinking like there's gotta be like a million videos like that already on YouTube. The thing I was told is like, yeah, but you don't know who to trust. And so I don't know. It's a debatable thing. The round door project, 7 foot in diameter round door. The rocket mass heater in the red cabin got a big upgrade. And I kind of feel like that could be an entire podcast on its own. The rocket oven got started, and I feel like we need to take the bones of it out up to the boneyard until we're ready to return to it. Weird materials were that we'll get to that. Rocket hot tub, the Bob lines plus the new Bob Ra line. I think that a thing that could be worth talking about for a moment is heat protocol. The yoga yurt with the cob floor. Rug repair. Window quilts. Willow feeders. A lot of stuff was done with willow feeders. And the last item on my list is Stephen's Poo with a View. Okay, now that's just the list of all the things that I have written down to talk about, but I don't know. Did I leave anything out? What else do we need to cover? Did anything pop in your guys' heads as I was reading that list off? Nope.
You mentioned the humus well? I'm sorry.
I did.
It was on the list. I had a little audio on defeat. Thanks.
Number 5 was humus well.
The pump house. We did a lot of work up at the pump house too.
Oh, good one. Good one. All right. I have it written down now. Any others? How about if we start talking about the pump house since, we didn't have it on our proper list. So, Beau, what happened at the pump house this year? Okay, I don't hear any sound from you. All right. I still don't hear anything. So I do know that...
How about now?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, I have to be on here twice for you to hear me for some reason. There we go.
Is that an Apple product?
No, it's 2 Apple products. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
That's how you get Apple to work, is you have to have 2 of them. I just have 1 Linux product.
Yeah, 1 Linux equals 2 Apple. I've found that to be true. No argument there. So the scope of the project at the well pump house at the lab. So for anyone who is new to this thing, this was put in a couple years ago. It's a roundwood. It's a underground roundwood retaining structure that's earthen insulated around the walls. It goes down about 8 feet at the tallest part, 6.5 feet at the lowest part. And it is the structure that holds the well pump for all the water up at the lab. So when we got there this year for the PTJ, it didn't have any earth backfilled around most of the sidewalls. So Elliot helped me do a bunch of tractor work to get as far as he could, getting all the earth tucked up and getting the plastic membrane to keep that earth dry so it would be insulative. So we did that. We had to do a lot of manual earth moving in the back so that we didn't crush any of the squishy bits with the tractor. And then what you're looking at right now, we dropped a couple of large, several 100-pound boulders down into the bottom. And those will have, when it drops below 40 degrees, those will have an incandescent light bulb shine on those rocks and soak up that heat. So that when it gets quite cold, those rocks will be able to slowly release that heat and regulate that temperature. So that was the scope of that project this year. Yeah, I guess right now we're looking at clips from last year's movie where we actually insulated the roof of the well pump house structure with mycelium insulation. So we had the chance to check on that mycelium. It dried really well. I think there's still a lot of air infiltration. So another project that's in the works is to create a bit of a drop ceiling that won't be insulative, but will attempt to slow airflow out of the top and slow the egress of whatever heat is in the chamber. So lots of miscellaneous micro projects to get that well pump house to make it through this winter without having to shut off the water at the lab.
Right. I think, so most well houses, at least here in Montana, they're like an 8-foot tall cement thing. There's this kind of cement container that's dropped into the ground, and basically it's reburied, and then it has like a little metal lid on top of it, but it's buried deep enough that it won't ever freeze. And all of the plumbing is at the bottom of this big hole. And so, but here at the lab, we were digging into bedrock right there, and so we couldn't get very deep. And so instead, what we did is we kind of did like the walls a little bit Wafati style, not entirely, but a little bit, and then and an insulated roof instead of a non-insulated roof, which is fairly common. So the whole thing is probably about, I'm going to guess, 4.5 feet deep. Does that sound about right, Beau?
It's deeper than that now, because the bermed walls come up. So you can stand at full height on the inside with the roof closed.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. All right. So that's got to be, 5.5, 6 feet deep.
It ranges from just under 6 foot to probably 7 feet.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So it's pretty deep. But the thing is that the Wafati style walls on the sides are going to be, something so that, they're going to be kept dry for the most part. And because they're dry, they have some slight insulative value, possibly more insulative value than the ones that are in the ground that have zero insulative value. So, and
so supposedly dry soil is R.4 per inch. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah. Yeah.
And wet soil is 0 because water loves to transfer.
Well, wet soil does have an insulative value. It's R 0.05 per inch.
Fair.
So, yeah, it's
not
it's
0.
Very, yeah. So the dry stuff does have a slight insulative value. It's not terrific, but it also is going to have a fair bit of thermal mass. But we did put a tracking thermometer down in there last year, and or during the winter, this last winter, and it was not doing well. But we didn't have like the sides done and the roof was new. And I think when you got there, you were saying something about like the part where the roof met the box wasn't super great.
Yeah, there's like 1.5 inch gaps where the roof meets the sidewalls.
Yeah. So hopefully this year it'll do better. But so we've got plan A, which is that, we have a little bit better insulation going into this winter, and that seal between the roof and the walls is a little bit better. And then we've also installed a plan B, which is the giant rocks combined with the incandescent bulb. And so in case things get cold enough, the incandescent bulb will pop on, and it should be far more than what we need to keep that pump house warm. All right.
It's close. That's the hope. You did great.
Okay. What? Anything else about the pump house?
Well, there was the one time we saw it in the video of lowering the rock in where we had the roof propped up extra tall because it's quite secure when you just open it normally, but we had to make it taller to get enough clearance to get that bucket under there to drop the rocks. We had 2 2x4s, and you'll watch our friendly cameraman there beginning to lean against the 2x4. I didn't even see him, but our helper Mike was like, please stop leaning on the 2x4. So right at that moment, that is the moment where my head just barely did not get crushed by the roof. So, yeah, that's the only other thing. There it is. There's the moment.
Because he knocked the 2x4 out?
He didn't knock it. He began to lean against it until we said, please stop leaning against the 2x4. And it took about 3 times of saying it before he registered that we were talking to him and that it was a potential OSHA infraction and deadly maneuver. So it's a pretty good moment.
I think it's important to embrace for all of us, everybody on this call, everybody observing this video right now, observing this, hearing it, if we do it into a podcast or whatever. But the thing is that it's really easy to point back in the history and say, everybody knows that the way that you do it is ba 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 ba. And nobody would ever, and it's kind of like, you know what? It happens all the time. And it's like the most hilarious parts are the people that say, nobody would ever, and that's the person who ends up doing it. That's the person.
Well, Paul, it's somewhat ironic because there were 3 of us working on putting those rocks in, and those rocks came from the humus well site as well. There was some sharing going on there, and we had it all worked out. Like, look, we've got this rock and this is going to happen and nobody's going to be underneath it. And these are the hand signals to use, because, just to make it really clear. And so the 3 of us had it all figured out. And then a 4th person showed up and kind of missed the safety briefing, and we didn't pause and kind of restart. And I think that's how that happened. But otherwise, we successfully placed 2-3 large rocks, very heavy, inside a hole with some delicate equipment.
I would say it was way easier than we expected it to be. Would you agree, Elliot?
Yeah, I think in the end it was because, we took our time and we prepared and we really emphasized, safety. We weren't just tossing rocks in there and then worrying about it later. That would have been really easy. So
I guess I'm looking for a little positive feedback that what I'm saying is true, is that you can prepare and prepare and prepare and prepare, and then there's always
shit happens.
Boo-boos. And it's like whenever there's a boo-boo, it's as if 100% of the people who were there or heard about it or whatever point at the boo-boo and they say, what a dumb fuck. Nobody would ever do that. That's so ridiculous. And I kind of feel like, we all make boo-boos and it's like, it's going to happen. It sucks. But I think the thing that's starting to really drive me crazy now is the people that say only a fool would do that. And it's like, dude, you are tempting fate,
Well, and Paul, the sort of accent on this one is somebody showed up, which was great. We're always happy to share. People want to wander by, see what's going on. Great. Somebody wanted to film it. And because their awareness, I think, was looking at the phone and what they were recording, they did not have the other situational awareness. That is a general problem with filming, not this person necessarily. And, just in terms of our own tasks and roles, that's an oops. And I feel like that was really on me because I was on the tractor controlling this thing. I could see the other people and what they were doing, as well. So yeah, things happen, and we can always do better.
And I think that's kind of a big part of the event, as well as like all the rest of the stuff we do all year long is to build some experience, and building experience does include going through some boo-boos. We recently posted a video about using that tool, that tree tripping tool, sometimes called a tree jack, sometimes called the timber tool, and it's hilarious how so many people have dumb things to say, and I kind of feel like I like the tool because we have a lot of people here that have never tripped a tree before, and I just feel like for them this tool makes the entire experience 20 times safer. It feels so much better to me, and I'm so glad that we use this tool. It's such a relief. Anyway, comedy happened. Beau, I'm glad that you didn't get hurt. And yet, whenever we try almost anything, there's chances are some, but I think, of course, triple emphasis on safety and trying to make it so that things don't go sideways. But we're doing so many unusual things, so many things that are so different that we're going to have to just jump in there and try to think through the safety on our own, but there's always going to be a boo-boo. And I guess my big thing is that whoever points at the boo-boo and says something like everybody knows, that's the person with the finger. That person is doomed to have a major accident that day. So, just my experience. So I think the thing to do is to just be supportive rather than shaming. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. Anybody got anything else to say about the pump house? Beau, anything more?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay. All right, cool. Next item on the list is the roundwood pavilion. So, this project went the full 2 weeks of the event, whereas, the pump house, I think that was just a couple of days, wasn't it?
It was about 4 days.
4 days? Okay. All right. But this one went the whole time. And, as part of it, Mike, who led this, Mike Hazel, he, had a really cool log peeling tool. And, not only did it peel quickly and effectively, more so than any other tool we've ever tried here, but, it would leave the bark in a giant piece. I don't know, you could theoretically use these giant pieces of bark for stuff later if you wanted. But the idea is that the wood gets put up, and there's a roundwood timber framing thing that's put up, and then maybe next year we could put some roofy bits on it, and but this year we can go ahead and hang some of those floaty chairs off of it, and we've got a sunshade attached to it for now, and but there could be more sunshades and more expansion of this. I think it looks cool. I think on this particular space between these two buildings, when I first arrived on this property, the space between these two buildings was brutally ugly. And then Des came in and he made that rock patio kind of thing in between the two buildings. And then Alice came in and built that beautiful roundwood picnic table. And now this is going in. So this space.
This is Des. It's the rock patio.
So I can barely see him.
Des. He did the rock patio. I did the rock
so Des
patio.
has a big sign over his face that says live.
Oh, well, that's Des, the live face.
Okay. Guy. So Andreas, do you want to put Beau and Des up on the? Oh, he's gone now. Okay, never mind.
Missed your chance.
So I kind of feel like between the rock patio, the log picnic table, and then this new roundwood pavilion stuff, it's looking really, really handsome there. And plus, I think that the style of roundwood joinery that was done, the timber framing joinery, was I would say a little bit more conventional. So I think that Beau, what you did with that grape arbor last year was unconventional, because that kind of slide in dovetail kind of thing, which is going to be in the movie. I thought that was really cool. But I do think that, one of the cool things is that, Andreas, can you put that video-ish, that little image clip back up, please? I think that little bit is pretty amazing, because in order to move those heavy logs up, he built that really tall tripod there. So we just snagged some really long poles and made a quick tripod so that we could lift those logs. I thought that was really brilliant. And that's all done by hand power. It's a block and tackle, I believe.
Put Paul's brain on your plot. Do you have a hunk of land but don't know where to start? Do you have a world-changing permaculture idea and you need some feedback? Do you feel like the guy in overalls may inexplicably hold the keys to all your wildest permaculture and homesteading dreams? Well, you're probably wrong. But if you want to give it a go anyway, you can hire Paul for a consultation. He will be all yours for a whole entire hour. Schedule your Paulversation today at permies.com/consult. permies.com/consult.
So, I don't know, for anybody on this call, do we have anybody on this call that spent much time with that project? Clay?
Yeah, I'm actually in the bottom corner there on the left in the black shirt, lifting that up. I spent a day and a half working on that, and it was pretty fun. I worked on creating some mortise and tenons for those posts, the verticals, and the crossbar there. And then, what we did was, we put this tripod up, which those three poles have a hole through the top of them, and we chained those three together. It was used to put up the back first, the closest cross log. in the image there. And then we kind of walked it around because the legs were on the camera side of that log. We needed to move it all the way to the front log. So we had to walk that around and then hook it up to this log that you're seeing being lifted there. And then we used the block and tackle to lift that in place. And then we had folks on the roofs to line it up and then pound it in place, which it went in fairly easily. So pretty fun.
Delightful project. I think it's looking great. There's a bunch of knee braces. This is about, there's a lot more stuff that was done after what we see here. But this is just one piece that looks very, very nice. Now, it has knee braces on it. It has logs connecting both the far away bit and the near bit. There's more to it that's been completed. I think it's a cool project. All right. Next one. Ladder rack for Roy. Do we have anybody on this call that worked on the ladder rack for Roy? No.
I installed it.
Okay, and by installed, you mean?
I didn't do any of the fabrication because it came off of the old truck and they cut it up, made it longer on the front, shorter in the back, painted it. All
right, so the story goes like this. We had a pickup truck, and Katie had a relationship with this pickup truck called Ranger Doug. And I believe she said something like we have to keep this truck forever or something. I can't remember, but she's very, very tied to Ranger Doug, and Ranger Doug had this amazing ladder rack on top of this very cheap and old pickup truck. I mean, the ladder rack was probably worth 5 times more than the truck. And so what we did was we used the truck a lot to carry logs around, to move, to go up to the lab and grab a bunch of logs and then move them someplace. And usually, logs that you can easily pick up and put on top of the rack. Oh yeah, there's a fair load right there. But Ranger Doug became sad, and I think Ranger Doug has a cracked block. So it's like, I think Ranger Doug's all done. Oh no, what are we going to do? And fortunately, we got somebody who I refer to as the benefactor, who just reached out and bought us a brand new hybrid pickup truck, and which has been just amazing. I don't know, evidence that we are all loved. I can't recall how. So this new pickup truck we have is called Roy. I don't have any memory of hearing about how Katie feels about Roy. But maybe she's got too much history with Doug or something. I'm not sure. But the thing that we decided to do was to take the ladder rack that was on Doug and modify it to be on Roy. And it's kind of like all of the dimensions were wrong. I think it needed to be made narrower and shorter to go over, like the bed on Roy is narrower and shorter dramatically. but we wanted the length on the top to be the same. And so then we needed to add something to give it the ability to hold the weight on the front that's hanging way over the cab. And so it needed to be completely rebuilt. So they cut and cut and cut and welded and welded and welded, and then they needed to put a fresh coat of paint on it. So yeah, it took the entire 2 weeks to remake that ladder rack. But boy, we've already gotten so much use out of, well, both Roy and the ladder rack. It's been profound. But I don't know, it seems like every year at the PTJ there's at least one welding project, and it seems like everybody wants to get in a few hours of welding experience, and it's usually the first time they've ever welded anything. And Jim Jukzak was in charge of this project, which is kind of too bad because I'd like to see Jim Jukzak be in charge of 5 other projects instead. I didn't think it was going to take the full 2 weeks, but Jim wanted to make sure that everything about the ladder rack was rock solid, that all the welds were first class, and then of course and all the sizing was excellent and perfect, and everything about it was excellent. So he was there the whole time to make sure of all of that. And he put in lots of time for that. And everybody who wanted to get a little welding experience did. And of course there was a lot of cutting experience too, because the whole thing had to be cut apart in order to be rebuilt and rewelded. Anybody got anything to say about the ladder rack for Roy? Okay, well then we go on to another Beau project, mycelium insulation blocks. Beau?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah.
There's pictures.
So this was kind of a big project. The idea was we wanted to see if we could use the spent substrate from a mushroom farming operation. So this, they use a combination of oak chips, oak pellets, oak shavings, other deciduous wood products, sometimes straw. Sometimes conventionally they use soy or a similar nutritive ingredient. I think these guys use organic buffalo manure, which is kind of cool. And then some additives like gypsum to grow mushrooms on, culinary, gourmet mushrooms. So we wanted to see if we could break up those materials after they harvest a couple rounds of mushrooms off of it, pack them into pre-made forms, in this case kind of giant Lego-shaped forms, give them a week to grow together in their new shape, and then break them out and see what kind of properties they have to build with. I think when optimized, so there were a few levels to this experiment. We had to make the forms, which we made out of reclaimed cedar. I think they were fence pickets. Clay, did you bring those cedar pieces?
Yeah, they're all, no, you're right. They're cedar fence pickets that were 2 feet or shorter.
They weren't reclaimed. They were kind of
newish. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we designed and made those boxes. That was a full 4 days job just to figure that out and assembly line those together. We did a lot of, basic carpentry, education to get those assembled. And then part of the experiment was, mushroom farming typically uses a lot of plastic, which in an ideal world we could totally avoid. So we were trying to see what other materials could be used to line those forms with, so that the mycelium could grow back together and then also still release from the forms. So we tried 12 different options for lining the boxes, ranging from nothing, just raw wood, planed wood, and also rough wood. We tried, there were a number of things that I was pretty confident would just totally not work, but we tried them anyway because I'm wrong a lot. We tried just dirt and dust. We tried clay, like a clay slip. We did one with kind of a muslin-like material. We did a number of them because I knew plastic would be the most likely thing to work for a lot of reasons. One, mycelium doesn't grow into plastic. Two, plastic can be sterilized very easily with just a simple alcohol spray bottle. So we used reclaimed plastic as a compromise. A couple sources of reclaimed plastic. We used beeswax. We both heated it and applied it with a brush, and we made a little beeswax puck that we rubbed against the interior. That one was a wild card. I was like, I have no idea what beeswax and mycelium do together. I couldn't find any research on the subject. I was skeptical, but I was like, this may be the wild card that does it. I'm trying to think if we did any other experimental liners. Maybe it'll come to me. Of those 12 blocks, 12 experimental blocks, the plastic lined ones by far did the best. The beeswax ones didn't work at all. It was as if the beeswax wasn't there. Everything that had wood contact, the mycelium grew into the wood. And the clay was just very contaminated. So perhaps if we would have tried some pasteurizing of the clay slip before through heat, that would have been better. I still think there's probably too much wood exposure with the clay. So if I were to scale this project up, I'd probably manufacture some infinitely reusable silicone molds that would also reduce our need for these intricate wooden boxes. They could just be molded in the shape and be a standalone mold all out of silicone. But we learned a lot. We learned a lot about what mycelium doesn't like to grow inside of. We learned a little bit about kind of the species that we'd like to use and the time constraints. I think we would have had marginally more success if we'd have let them grow together for 3 weeks instead of 9 days. Or less than 9 days instead of 1 week. The ones that were marginally successful that still came out of the forms in a vaguely Lego shape, but either had some sign of contamination or had some like chunks that came out in removing from the form. We went ahead and made a bit of a wall out of those blocks behind the bun warmer in the berm shed. And I don't know if anyone's been over there to see how those things have done just out in the open behind the bone warmer. I don't know if they've grown together or have begun to desiccate. My guess is they haven't just utterly crumbled, but I'm curious to see how those are doing.
There.
So we found a lot of what I expected to be points of failure, but we found we zeroed in on the narrow pathway to scaling up and success here. The possible applications are really cool. I see a future where we have, mushroom farming is pretty wasteful. The best operations compost their spent mushroom substrate, which is great, great use of carbon, great soil builder. But I envision a world where, like, instead of doing that, we're growing mushrooms in these block forms or in panel forms, harvesting fruit off of them, and then with no added extra steps of labor, busting out the substrate already in its useful shape for insulation or building blocks. These kinds of blocks could be erected and then allowed to partially dry and then cobbed as you would a straw bale house, or potentially just plastered directly to the surface of the interior of the block and plastered and lime washed on the exterior depending on your climate, which makes them just a value-added waste byproduct. To me, it's a no-brainer. If I'm going to farm mushrooms, I'm going to get extra value out of the mycelium. And if I'm going to grow mycelium for industrial applications, I'm going to get extra value out of a mushroom fruiting crop. So I could talk about this for another hour, but that's a good overview.
Any ideas on something we could try that's not plastic to be the liner in those forms?
Silicone.
Anything more natural, like we find lying around on the ground? No. Sounds like a no.
Yeah, I mean metal. If we find, there's a lot more embedded energy in metal, but it's infinitely reusable and can be sterilized. So I could see potentially sheet metal.
What about like aluminum foil?
Yeah, I think aluminum foil will work.
Oh. Well, okay. One of the ideas that we've had is like, let's make a whole bunch of these blocks. And you've made the case of like, you don't necessarily need to do the Lego shape, because if you just kind of like put a little bit of water down as you're putting the blocks on top of each other, they'll kind of grow into each other and lock together anyway. So you don't need that Lego thing, that Lego factor.
Right.
And I think that is rather amazing. It's possible that we might want to make something smaller first. And I'm not sure what that might be. Like, we don't have a lot of need to build a doghouse or anything like that right now. But a wall somewhere, perhaps.
Maybe an interior partition wall in the bunkhouse, separating the solarium end from the bunk room. Just like even a little pony wall, not a full wall. Something with lots of exposure to watch how it coalesces.
Or maybe a bit of an exterior wall on one part of the berm shed.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I just kind of feel like the idea of ending up with, 400 building blocks that have an insulative value that's better than fiberglass insulation, and they're structurally sound enough that you could mount a roof on top of them.
Yeah.
I don't know, just the mind boggles at how amazing this building material can be.
Yeah. The comments, I do think glass would work well. Of course, if it's a form, you have to have glass that you can disassemble, because it's going to be real tight. You couldn't do it like in an aquarium. It would not want to come out.
Yeah.
But glass is an interesting idea. I think one of the coolest developments this year, the main pinch point on getting this to really be a success at the PTJ is that it's only a 2-week event. Because, mycelium takes a minimum, depending on species, of 6 to 10 weeks to inoculate the substrate. So we cheated by procuring already inoculated substrate from a local mushroom farm. And that's the only reason it's possible at all to even experiment at a 2-week event. The cool development was there's a mushroom farmer local to you, Paul, called Blood Veil, who's really keen to actually partner with us more extensively. They're open to the idea of growing a portion of their crop in forms that we would co-design, and setting them aside for a period of time so that we have purpose-grown stuff from them already. Because I think to scale up in this technology, you really need someone who's on site full time, who is both farming mushrooms and intentionally harvesting this insulative block or panel material, rather than just a 2-week period. So with a partnership with the local mushroom farm, that might be possible up near your place for the first time.
Okay. Neat.
Yeah.
But in theory, we could, let's say, make 40 forms. Like, let's say that the aluminum foil idea works out. Then, we could get 40 of them going with aluminum. And then we could set them aside for, I don't think they even need a lid. I mean, they need the walls that are kind of pinned together. And so that way you have the ability to take the walls off. But I suppose that if you just stack them on top of each other and then ignore them for 2 months?
It depends on what you put in. If you're breaking up already spent blocks, you only need, 2 weeks. If you're putting in raw substrate, freshly inoculated, 2 months. If it's a whole integrated mushroom farming operation, you're on the 2-month scale. And that's just to harvest your mushrooms, and you need to seal them back up so that it can recongeal. That's the wrong word. Seal any wound points from the harvest.
Okay. So, the next thing is, that does not look handsome.
It's a nice failure, isn't it? I love that. But look how well it grew to the wood. So, one other possibility, this is a great video to talk about this. So, you could build wooden block forms where you actually construct the structure still in the wood, like a structural insulated panel. Because before I opened that box, what you had was a very high R value structural insulated form that's wood clad. So you could potentially open up the top and the bottom, but leave the sidewalls, and they could grow together at the points where the mycelium intersects, and you already have interior and exterior cladding in the wood.
Oh, so you're saying so basically whatever you build, it's kind of got this slight amount of wood involved in the structure as well.
Well, you're growing a structural insulated panel, which is like an ice cream sandwich with wood, insulated material, and wood. Only it doesn't use expanded polystyrene, and it doesn't use adhesives, and it doesn't have to use OSB. It's using natural cedar. So that's a really compelling possibility that we weren't even researching, but I really love that idea.
Okay. Another idea would be to make the frames out of aluminum plate. So if we had some, I'm going to make up a number of 1/8-inch aluminum, we could, that would be the actual box, and you take the box off, and then you're going to be left with this exposed, mycelium block. And the place I was going a moment ago is you could do 40, and then you do 40 more, and then you do 40 more, until you have enough to build whatever it is you're going to be building. But it would be you'd have to be thinking in advance. However, you would end up with something that's very well insulated.
Yeah. Yeah, so, to the comments point, part of the problem with the ones without any plastic lining was certainly moisture loss, wood being very porous, and other lining experiments that were more porous did lose moisture content. Some of them we wrapped the exterior of the box in plastic to try to seal some of the humidity in that internal environment. But the ones that were just straight up wood dried out too much, certainly.
Okay. All right.
I got a question about the R value. You said it was a high R value. What kind of R value do you have there?
When it's dry, it depends on the species and the substrate, but it's tested out to be between R 3.7 and R4 per inch, so slightly better than fiberglass and mineral wool.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. The cool thing is structural blocks that are insulated. And, what a great use of wood chips. Yeah. If there's a lot of sawmills. We have a fair bit of sawdust from our sawmill.
Right.
And so I'm kind of thinking like, oh, we could put that to use.
Yep.
Oh, there's a nice looking one.
Yeah, that one's okay. Now, Paul, have you been down into the classroom recently? Because the two best blocks were sitting right behind the double barrel for the rocket mass heater. And it used to be that one of the boots was sending me pictures as one of those blocks was even fruiting. It had mushrooms growing out of it. But I haven't gotten an update in over a month. So I'm really curious how those two best performing blocks are looking now.
Oh, I was down there. I took a little bit of B-roll footage of the rocket mass heater in the classroom. I don't know, like 3 or 4 days ago. But I didn't attempt to go and look behind the double barrel.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So I don't know, but we've been cleaning up after the PTJ and the skip events. So things are looking really tidy in there now. But I didn't know that if I looked in just the right spot, I could see the progress of a project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'll ping
now
Steve
I know.
and have him take a peek when he gets a chance.
Okay. All right. We'll do. All right. Anything else about the mycelium insulation blocks project?
Yeah, but I'm not going to take up any more
Okay. That was
project. I'm excited to do more.
Yeah. That I feel like there's tons and tons and tons more to talk about. And I do want to build some stuff, but, and Elliot, you're getting kind of dancy in your little,
You're on mute, Elliot.
Yeah, we can't hear you. This is kind of like Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I had a teenager enter the room and depart.
Oh, so sign language.
Loud.
You know, I was not waving at y'all.
Yeah, all right, good. All is well.
Funny.
Hey, JR. Next up on the list is the Sepp Holzer root cellar. And so we're going to try to make a really big root cellar. And Sepp Holzer says that he can build it in 10 hours, provided, of course, that all the logs are there, an excavator is there, and I'm going to guess 6 people who really know what the fuck they're doing. You got that? And he says 10 hours. And I think what you and I have learned is that a Sepp Holzer hour might be longer than an hour for the rest of us.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. Actually, obviously so. But then again, he has people that have done it so many times that, they know exactly what's going on. And you have different variables in there. And also, he doesn't detail it out that much in the book. So, it's hard to tell exactly how and I think the hole's dug, all the logs are there, peeled. And he's got an experienced crew.
Okay.
But it's a lot of work.
Doing it the first time is definitely going to take a lot longer to do than doing it the 12th time. And I'm going to guess that when he builds it the 12th time, or when, like if you have your best 6 people and then you guys, get to your 12th time, I still think that whether it's Sepp Holzer's team or it's you and your best people, on the 12th time, at the very shortest, 2 10-hour days. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, now you see somebody peeling a log, and it's kind of like, I think that Sepp's got the logs already all peeled and ready to go. But last year, you took a few days 6 days. Yeah, 6 days to kind of get the logs set up. And then on Tuesday morning of the second week, it's like, okay, here goes our 10 hours. And it's like, okay, so then you used up all 4 of those days, for last year, and then all 10 of the days this year. And it's kind of done-ish, but, there's still some to be done to call it really done. And,
Yes.
Is it possible that you're going to come out here as a ringer for a week or two?
It's possible.
Okay.
It's got to get done. It's got to get done.
Okay. I like the description that you had and the little drawing that Andreas had up there just a second ago, kind of showing, cause yeah, that one right there. I feel like that is just a perfect drawing, and your description just perfectly matches that. And, because Sepp Holzer, he's dropping about $6,000 on the roofy bits. And, I think that, for us, it's going to be closer to like, I don't know, $400. And at the same time, I think that ours is going to be better. So,
I think so.
yeah. But we haven't even gotten to that part yet.
This podcast is continued in part 2.
Hey, this is T. Blankenship. Are you a fan of pie? Where there's pie at Permies.com. This pie grants the user secret access. You also get free things like videos of Wheaton Labs, the ability to add 2 thumbs up to posts, and more. To get pie, go to Permies.com/pie to get the inside scoop of what pie can do for you. Again, that is Permies.com/pie.